Check, testing, testing, testing. We're all set to go. Let's do this. What can I say? Look, obviously, we knew loss was eventually due to happen. You can't win every single game you play as a team. Every team loses games, so it was obviously bound to happen. But it's not necessarily the fact the Philadelphia Eagles lost to the Denver Broncos yesterday. It's more so the fashion in which it happened. Because we entered the fourth quarter up 17-3. And yeah, even then, I'm still going into the fourth quarter. I'm like, even when we were winning, we were stopping the Broncos' offense throughout the first three quarters. I'm still like, yeah, we're winning, but we should be scoring more points on offense. Our defense did great through three quarters, but our offense should have been scoring more points. But in some ways, which I'll get to in a minute, the Philadelphia Eagles' poor offensive performance in the second half paved way for the Denver Broncos to come back. And I'll explain to that in a minute. Let's give it another minute. Let's give a few more people to come on in. Just messing around with these features right here. See what's up. Retouch. Nah, that don't work. It don't really block out that pimple. Let's see. Wait, what? I'm testing with green screens now. Let's see how this works. Alright, let's see how that looks. Not really that impressed. Now, we'll go with this. Maybe indoors. Lighting. I'll try that indoors. We're going to give another minute for some people to come in the chat. Then we're going to talk about this a little bit more. Okay. Stopping by. You're here to listen to me talk about the Eagles football. Make sure to drop a like. Let's get into it. We're going to get a few, right? We're starting to get a few more people come in here. $9.99.99 Papa, bro, love from India. Hi from Sri Lanka. Right, we're starting to pick up a little bit now. Let's get into it. Alrighty. Okay. Yeah, it happened. Yes, we know the Philadelphia Eagles lost their game to the Denver Broncos. It happened. We weren't going to go undefeated. We knew it. We knew realistically it was bound to happen at some point. Someone was going to beat us. Hello, what's up? We knew it was going to happen. But and every team loses. It happens. Teams win games, teams lose games. Yesterday for the NFL was just a litany of upsets. It wasn't just one game particularly, which is the Eagles game, which I'm going to dedicate this stream to talk about. It was happening throughout the NFL yesterday. You had the Giants losing to the Saints, Cardinals choking against the Titans. You had the Bills losing to the Patriots, which, there goes my T scenario of the Eagles and Bills both being undefeated going into December, which I knew wasn't going to happen. When I came out here last week and joked about, I was mainly joking and trolling about the idea that the Eagles and Bills would play each other late in the season. They'd both still be undefeated. I knew that wasn't going to happen. 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. USA, of course. But, oh my goodness gracious, what? I was just joking, though, about that. I was joking about it, bro. I knew that, like I said, I knew it wasn't happening. I knew the Philadelphia Eagles and Buffalo Bills weren't going to be undefeated, both in December, ahead in their matchup. But couldn't both teams have just won their game this week? At least give me 2 weeks to shine with that joking and trolling scenario. Couldn't have at least gotten one more week out of it. Like I said, I knew it wasn't going to happen, but come on, just one more week. Damn it, Eagles. I mean, and then by the time we did get to the Bills night game against the Patriots, the Eagles had lost, so that was out the window by that point. And now, here to talk about it. So the Philadelphia Eagles, look, it's a game, it happens, we lost. Credit to the Denver Broncos, they did what they needed to win. YKG since 2004 said hello, what's up? Hello, how are you? Hope you're doing great. And it's like, yeah, I'm in the United States, the eastern United States, in New Jersey, so Atlantic City, New Jersey. You're from Brigantine, which is outskirts of Atlantic City. But man, what the hell happened with the Philadelphia Eagles, bro? I mean, the fourth quarter, though, I mean, like, it happened. But the Denver Broncos, congratulations. They did their thing, like I was saying. They adjusted perfectly. As the game, early on, we were doing great in the first half until the fourth quarter. By the time the fourth quarter came around, their defense adjusted to us. They adjusted to our players. They adjusted to the pass game. And that's when we were going incomplete pass, incomplete pass, incomplete pass, punt. Incomplete pass, incomplete pass, incomplete pass, punt. The Broncos defense adjusted to us later in the fourth quarter. And ultimately from there, what happened was getting back to, like I said, their defense. We were doing great through three quarters, but then in the fourth quarter, the defense was just getting trotted out on the field because the offense couldn't move anyone, and the defense got burnt out because they kept having to step on the field. Mostly the fourth quarter, the defense tried to carry their weight of the team because they were on the field the most, but finally they got burnt out, and that's when the Broncos caught up. J.K. Dobbins had himself a little nice fourth quarter. He even scored the touchdown that led to the go-ahead two-point conversion, which put the Broncos up 18-17. Then we can't bat the ball back. We couldn't move it again. And the Broncos got the ball back, kicked the field goal to go up 4. Then we got to the end of the game. Something that Eagles fans are going to talk about. The missed call and the pass interference against Dallas Goedert. Now, was that missed call? Absolutely that was. That was blatant. That tug of the jersey right there, that, I know that might not be the best, that's not the best illustration, but you guys that saw the game know what I'm talking about. So Dallas Goedert's jersey was being grabbed, and it was clearly pass interference. It was blatant, and there wasn't a call made. Matter of fact, it was so blatant that even Tony, secret Eagle hater Romo, had to acknowledge it was a missed call. And yes, that does play us, and I understand the Eagles fans that are upset about it. And I understand the temptation to say, hey, we got robbed of the opportunity because of it. If that would have been called, we would have got the ball at the Broncos 5, and we could have scored on the final play. You could have even ran with Hurts. And that is potentially true. That could very well have happened. Maybe if the pass interference was called, maybe the Eagles do get the ball at the 5-yard line, and maybe we do score the go-ahead touchdown. So there is some validity to it. So I understand where Eagles fans are coming from getting upset with it. That was absolutely the wrong call. And I understand, hey, as a football fan, when it happens to your team, you want to speak up about it. You want to raise hell. I get that. I'm not blaming Eagles fans for being upset at all. Be bad as you want, Eagle Nation. But you can also be mad at the fact that the Eagles let the Broncos come back and take the lead, whereas something like this could even happen in the first place. Because if our offense wasn't we didn't do one-dimensional pass-happy play calling, which worked out great earlier on, but then as the game went along, the Broncos defense picked up on us, and they shut us down and kept us from scoring late in the game. Had that not happened, and had our defense not been burnt out going into the fourth quarter, the Broncos would have never gotten the lead in the first place, and meaning that we would have never been in a position where the one call could decide the outcome of the game. And I sometimes, when it comes to situations in life and football, in this case, talk about the Eagles, I'd say the Eagles ultimately put themselves in position to get screwed over in the fourth quarter. And yeah, that was a question. That was definitely a horrible call that played a huge factor in the outcome of the game. But again, the Eagles were up 17-3 at the beginning of the quarter. Had the Broncos not scored 18 unanswered points, we wouldn't have been in position to get screwed over by a missed call. And that's ultimately what happened. The Philadelphia Eagles screwed themselves over. Kevin Patullo's play calling ultimately screwed the team over. Because while early on in the game, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith were cooking, Beast, what is up, what is up? Ultimately, while the was doing, like I said, offense was doing its thing. Let's face it, when the offense was doing great in the first half, A.J. Brown was getting more involved in the passing game. He almost had a touchdown. Devontae Smith continued to be used great. We even got Saquon in the passing game who rattled off a touchdown. But I'm kind of looking at it now thinking, but here's where the play call comes into question. We've noticed so far this season, Saquon has been good in the passing game. He hasn't been the same player he was running the ball, but when we do call his number in the passing game, Saquon's found a way to make plays. So the question I got to ask is, why aren't the Philadelphia Eagles using him more in the pass game? I drew the comparison, and I even said this on Friday when I went live on the boardwalk to preview the game. The Eagles should try to use Saquon in the pass game more, similar to what they did with Westbrook during the McNabb-Westbrook years. We did so that one play, and guess what happened? It worked out in our favor. Huge touchdown for the Eagles, increased the lead we had at the time. So yeah, that did actually work, but we should have done it a few more times. And another thing I suggested the Eagles do is give A.J. Dillon more carries. But, yes, I understand A.J. Dillon's number 2 back. He's not going to get 20 touches a game. I understand that, but he got 2 touches. He was doing good for the touches he was getting. Why not use him a little bit more as your running back? Give him at least maybe 4 or 5 carries at least. Use him in emergency situations, short yardage plays where he can help us out. At least use A.J. Dillon a few times in the passing game. That just doesn't, they didn't do it. That was where they made mistakes. They came too reliant on deep passes, and eventually the Broncos figured it out. And by the time the game was over, you had a combined 5 pass deflections from Surtain, Hufanga, Riley Moss, and McMillan combined for 5 pass deflections by the time the game was over. So, don't get me wrong, credit to the Broncos secondary. They are a good secondary, especially Pat Surtain. He's one of the easily top 5 defensive back in the NFL currently. So I'm giving the Denver Broncos credit for sure. Their their secondary did what they had to. They took care of business. They ultimately shut down the Eagles and kept us in check to 17 points. So I gave the Broncos their credit where credit's due. They did what they had to. And, even Bo Nix on the offensive side. He was resilient in this game. He took our best shots. He didn't give up when we were stopping them. And then finally in the fourth quarter, J.K. Dobbins, Bo Nix and company put it together on offense. They took advantage of our defense being burnt out from being on the field so many plays, and it paid off for them. So, I'm not mad at the Denver Broncos at all. I give them props. They did their thing. They get a win. Now they're up to 3-2, which, if Kansas City loses tonight to Jacksonville, then you're tied with the Chargers for first place in the division. And that's where everything goes weird. And that's where everything goes straight downhill. But for the Eagles, like I said, for the Broncos, that's good. If Kansas City loses tonight, you guys are tied for first in the AFC West. But now you're at 3-2. You guys won that game. Now, I still think the Broncos have some work to do as a team, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, but I can't say anything bad about them because, hey, they beat my team. They're the better team for now. Their fan base has the bragging rights at least for 1 week. So, I'm not going to say anything bad about the Broncos. It's just one of those things. Hey, it's a loss. It happens. But guess what? it happened, but hey, that's football for you folks. That is football. And the Philadelphia Eagles, but now the question I have with the Eagles though, as I'm thinking about, I'm like, because it's kind of looking a little bit similar to 2023 a little bit, but hopefully we get some time to turn it around. But Kevin Patullo's play calling, it's not really working out like it should. It's not panning out the way it should. We're ultimately, because last year you had Kellen Moore, an experienced guy helping call plays, and that played a role in the offense coming on strong, particularly in October, November. But to be fair, this is only through 5 games. There's still a chance the Eagles could start to do their best because ultimately there is nothing that Kevin Patullo does that maybe we get better as time goes along, as the season goes along, but because like we said, this happened last year. Remember, we went and hit the bye week 5. We were 2-2 through 4 weeks. Our 5th game in week 6, we played the Browns. We won, but it was kind of sloppy. But it wasn't until we played the Giants and the Bengals around like week 7 and 8 that the Eagles finally started to play up to their potential. They finally came unlocked and did what they had to do as a team. And we're only entering week 6, so I'm not throwing in the towel at all. I think there's always an opportunity this team could improve as the season goes along. Maybe we get better. Maybe we play a little bit more. Discipline, the play calling starts to get, they start to situate, they figure it out. Maybe we get the run game going a little bit more. There's always time to figure it out. Now, my takeaway from this game, though, is that we have to find ways to get the running backs more involved because our ground game was basically non-existent. The Broncos outshined us on the ground, and that played a big role in the fourth quarter going forward. That's how it goes down. But yeah, so I mean, I know that Saquon's not in the best year running, but you can always get him more involved in the passing game. You can always do screen passes. You can do 3-yard passes. That was something that Tom Brady and Drew Brees did great at during their careers. You had those three, right? Especially that's a great point. Shout out to Iam Carlo, who Eagles content creator, for pointing out that was something that Brees and Brady did really well. They would do a lot of 3-yard passes, and that would help set up 10-yard passes, 15-yard passes, and eventually, boom, deep ball downfield for 20, 30 yards, maybe a touchdown or possibly, 50-yard touchdown, whatever the case may be. So that was some. I'm looking like, yeah, we could definitely improve on the way we use it. I understand the run game hasn't been great this year, so we're leaning toward a favoring the pass game. And in this game, even though we lost, we actually did a pretty good job with the pass game. Hurts didn't have any picks. We didn't have any turnovers. We did get the ball to AJ and Smitty. But here's the big but. Over time, that play calling became predictable. Like, we should have started incorporating more screen passes, more 3-yard passes, 2-yard passes. And then that could have helped open some lanes in the passing game and eventually open the way for a few more 20-plus yard passes down the line. But 1 second, I gotta go grab some water. Be right back. I'm back. And as I was saying about earlier about the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously they're leaning toward more of a pass offense because the running game hasn't been as strong this year. Saquon Barkley, who's your number one back, he did have a nice run yesterday though. He had a nice 18-yarder, but even then I question the play calling because it's like if you saw Saquon have one yard carry, why didn't you try to get Saquon going? Because he only got one carry in the second half. That's it. We could have easily given Saquon Barkley a few more carries in the second half, and maybe he would have had another big run or two, and that could have ultimately helped us score more points, which, if we did that, maybe it would have been a different outcome. Maybe we wouldn't have to worry about us losing the way we did. And I understand that, yes, Saquon Barkley has not been running the way he was not running as strong as he did last year. He's not putting up the same great statistical numbers he did a season ago. He's not scoring as often as he did last year. I understand that. So I understand leaning toward the pass game more. But we also gotta, it doesn't help when you only give Saquon Barkley 6 carries, and one of those 6 carries was an 18-yard gain, because then there's always the possibility you possibly missed out on the opportunity that Saquon Barkley could have done more. Maybe he could have gone for another 15 or plus yarder if you would have gave him a few more carries, or maybe given him like 12, 13 carries combined. Maybe you get 1 or 2 more of those runs, and that can play a big difference. It could have helped the Eagles score more points, or could have tried utilizing Saquon in the passing game as well. Maybe do a screen pass, maybe do a 3-yard pass. That could work out. That could have worked out more, but the Eagles didn't really do much of it. And that's a lot of times what Drew Brees and Tom Brady did, especially Drew Brees with the Saints. That's how the Saints were able to move downfield and score points. Start simpler. Start with the short passes, 3-yarders, 4-yarders on first and long. And they'll start to slowly wear down the defense a little bit. Then, when you wear down their defense, then go for the big pass downfield, 20-plus yards. It's more likely to work in your favor that way. And that's something that the Eagles weren't doing. That's something that we didn't do. Instead, we chose instead to just do, like 5, 15, like 10. We just did like 10 plus yarders. We were just constantly, we were a mess. Second half going, incomplete pass, incomplete pass, incomplete pass. Goes to show you, Kevin Patullo, just because you work under different offensive coordinators doesn't mean it's going to work out. But here's the thing you got to figure out. Remember 2023 with Brian Johnson, we were going heavy with the pass when it really wasn't working out in our favor. And Kevin Patullo was there on the coaching staff under Brian Johnson. And remember last year we started off the season with more of a more pass-happy offense until we started to switch over to the ground game. So Kevin Patullo, a lot of his experience working with the Eagles has been dealing with a pass-happy offense, even 2021. Because that's really, he started as what position was it? But it was a position as an offensive coach. He worked his way up to offensive coordinator. He learned this mentality. I feel like, too, it's also part the fault of Sirianni and the way the plays have been called. Because ever since Kevin Patullo's gotten to the Eagles in 2021, they've been mostly a pass-focused offense. And that sometimes worked in their favor, but sometimes it didn't. And Kevin Patullo's looking at it from that standpoint of primarily Kevin Patullo learned how to focus on the pass over the run. And that's one of the reasons why he's making those play calls the way he is. You can also in part blame Nick Sirianni and a lot of the play calling that they've done since Mr. Patullo's arrival in Philadelphia. Because now all of a sudden, after all those years, all Kevin Patullo learned from the other offensive coordinators was throw the pass, throw the pass, throw the pass, throw the pass. That's what he primarily learned. Now that's what he's doing now that he's in that position as offensive coordinator. So you can partially blame that on the other, the other coaches the other signal callers that previously would go lean in favor of the pass. So I can say that's also part of the problem too, not just Kevin Patullo itself. But now here it is. It feels like deja vu all over again. Because ever since Sirianni has been here as the Eagles head coach, 2021, 23, and 25, it seems like even when they win games and have winning records, we as Eagles fans still get upset about the fact that they call the pass too many times and we're calling for them to run the ball more. It's as the old saying goes, the more things change, the more they stay the same. But seriously, and it's true now, because we as Eagles fans know this all too good and well. I mean, geez, I've been on here Fulton doing YouTube videos, covered every season, talk about the Eagles since 2021. I did it in 2021, talked about it, 23, talked about it early in 24. Now we're talking about again early in the 25 season that if the passing game is too predictable, try running the ball more. It seems like something that the Eagles just continue to do and continue to do and continue to do. But that's Eagles football for you. But at the same time, it wasn't all bad in this game. To be fair, even though the defense did give up the 18 points in the fourth quarter, like I said, in their defense, they were dealing with a lot of 3-and-outs by the Eagles offense, so they were on the field for a lot of plays, and they just finally got worn down and burnt out in the fourth quarter. But outside of that, we did a good job holding the Denver Broncos off through the first 3 quarters. Now, is it part of the defense's fault that they give those points? Yes, but I feel like they get the benefit of the doubt because they were, to be fair, their offense wasn't making many plays. The ratio of plays the Broncos offense was on the field to the Eagles' time of possession, particularly at the ends of the game, was highly favorable in favor of the Broncos, and you wonder why the Eagles' defense got burnt out. But here's the biggest concern, though, with that. Who's the real number 2 corner? First it's Dory Jackson, now it's Kelee Ringo. We don't really have a true number 2 corner. That was the price we paid for Darius Slay leaving in free agency to go to the Steelers. Now, we don't have a number 2 corner. We don't have a true one. And now there's going to be this controversy of, does it Ringo? We tried out with Ringo for a few more weeks. At this point, we might. And you got J5 Mobile in here saying, let's go Broncos. Which, hey, congratulations on your win, man. You've earned the bragging rights for the week. You must be happy. You're at 3-2, tied for at first place with the Chargers. And if Kansas City loses tonight, they're 2-3, so you're still in that position. But congratulations. You did what you needed to. Your secondary adjusted to the Eagles' offense. You figured out later in the game how to shut down AJ and Devontae. Like I said, you guys got to combine 5 pass deflections from your secondary. You had a good game there. And then J.K. Dobbins came on strong later in the game, which was a nice pickup for me. You ought to thank the Chargers for that one. But, hey, at this point, I got nothing bad to say about the Denver Broncos because ultimately they did their job as a team. They played all 4 quarters. The Eagles didn't. And that's what it boils down to. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And while we're still at it, I do got to give Sean Payton credit because now Sean Payton passes Bill Parcells for career wins, I think. Was it career wins or regular season wins? Which is ironic because Sean Payton started off with Bill Parcells as his mentor. He was an offensive coordinator or an offensive assistant on the Cowboys during those early years Parcells was there. And then he got the head coaching job with the Saints and hasn't looked back. So congratulations to Sean Payton on his milestone accomplishment, passing his mentor. And congrats to the Denver Broncos on their victory. I mean, I don't know who you guys got next on the schedule, or I don't know if you got a bye week, if you got a rivalry game or a big game or an easy game. We got a Broncos fan. If J5 isn't still in the chat, you can comment what the Broncos' next game is. But now for the Eagles, man. I kind of touched up on it earlier, and I'm going to touch up on it again. When it comes to that missed pass interference call, let's face it, the Eagles put themselves in position to get screwed over. I'm not blaming the referees for the loss. I'm not coming on here saying, oh, it's all the referees' fault. They cheated us. Yeah. No. While it is true that ultimately, oh, and they said we're going to London to play the Jets. That should be an easy game, and you should win that one. So good luck against the Jets, man. Take care. Do yourselves a favor. Don't lose that game. Keep that streak going. Wait, go to 4-2. But yeah, I gotta move inside for a little minute because these bugs are getting a little bit bad. But as I was saying about the Eagles fans are talking. Some people are saying that we got screwed. But let's face it, when you're up 17-3 going into the fourth quarter, you should be able to close the deal and win games. If you're even in a position where the other team comes back and they're up 21-17 over you, you ultimately put yourself in that position, and you got no one to blame but yourselves. And that's where the Eagles were at. They ultimately screwed themselves over. They let the Denver Broncos come back. They let them score the go-ahead 2-point conversion and then add another field goal to make it a 4-point game where they had to throw all the way to the end zone. That's on the Eagles. That's their fault. It wasn't the referee's fault that they gave up more points late in the game. That's the Eagles' own fault. So I understand why Eagles fans are upset about the call. But ultimately, like I said, the Eagles put themselves in position to get messed over. Give me 1 minute, guys. I'll be right back.